Good evening. I'm Carol McNeil, and this is The National.
This man will not get away with what he's doing, believe me.
As nuclear rhetoric hits new heights, China lays out whose side it would take if someone shoots first. New rules to protect whales will put a burden on business.
It could eventually go down to the consumer as well.
Canada's teen phenom, Denis Shapovalov. He's in the world spotlight after beating tennis royalty.
I think he has ice in his veins.
Plus, tourists in Israel pay for a taste of terror. Organizers deny it's political.
I'm not even saying the word Palestinian.
Threats, insults, blatant attempts at intimidation. If words were missiles, you could only imagine the damage. Rhetoric between the United States and North Korea hit a new pitch today, with U.S. President Donald Trump using language that almost sounds like he's ready for war. And North Korean leader Kim Jong-un suggesting he could squash America flat. But as Kim Brunhuber reports, nobody likes where this is going, least of all China.
This you expect. North Koreans rallying in a public square to shake their fists at America, issuing dramatic and often mystifying threats, like this latest one. We consider the U.S. no more than a lump which we can beat to a jelly at any time. But this, less conventional. A U.S. president escalating hostilities against a nascent nuclear power. On Twitter, military solutions are now fully in place, locked and loaded, should North Korea act unwisely, Donald Trump tweeted, after North Korea said its army would fire missiles over Japan to land near Guam. And then later, from his New Jersey golf club, he repeated his warning.
I hope that they are going to fully understand the gravity of what I said, and what I said is what I mean.
Today, two other military heavyweights urged both sides to dial down the rhetoric. Russia's foreign minister urged the stronger side to step back, but China's words carry the most weight. And today, a state-run newspaper wrote that if North Korea launches missiles that threaten U.S. soil first and the U.S. retaliates, China will stay neutral. On this, experts say Trump is right. The only country that's likely to enforce a non-military solution to the crisis is China.
China holds all the cards when it comes to North Korea. If China really wanted to, they could end the North Korean regime within months by cutting off food and fuel aid.
Meanwhile, on the island of Guam, home to one of the biggest U.S. military bases, now a potential target, officials sent residents a list instructing them how to survive a nuclear attack. Soldiers say they are, as ever, on standby.
But we're training every day, all the time, just so we're ready. We're always prepared to prevail and to fight tonight.
A diplomatic pressure valve does exist. Both sides are in contact through a back channel at the UN. But today, Trump said he didn't want to talk about any back channels.
This man will not get away with what he's doing, believe me. And if he utters one threat in the form of an overt threat, he will truly regret it, and he will regret it fast.
Another line in the sand, which the North Koreans, always up for a good threat, are sure to cross. Kim Brunhuber, CBC News, Los Angeles.
So, what's our position in all of this? Canada, like the U.S., is adamant that North Korea must back down. But the difference in tone is profound.
It is of absolutely pressing concern for Canada, and we're very involved working with our international partners to seek a resolution, a de-escalation, to really get North Korea to understand it must get off this path which is so destructive for North Korea and for the world.
Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland on Canada's support for a mediated international solution. She also praised Daniel Jean today, Canada's national security advisor. He was sent to secure the release of a Canadian pastor detained in North Korea. Hyun Soo Lim was freed this week after months of diplomatic negotiations. We now know that while in Pyongyang, Jean did speak directly to North Korean officials and about more than Lim. Exactly what was said is unclear tonight. The delegation had been working hard to express Canada's concern over missile tests and other regional issues. British Columbia is cutting off access to large parts of the province's interior as crews gear up for a challenging weekend fighting fires. Officials say they hope the closure will prevent any new human-caused fires in the Caribou region. That area is popular with hikers and campers. Anyone without permission to stay in the restricted area will be ordered to leave. There are currently 148 active wildfires in BC. Strong winds are expected to make matters worse over the weekend. Air Transat is trying to make it up to its customers who were stuck on the tarmac for 6 hours last week. Passengers who are flying from Brussels to Montreal will get $400. The plane was diverted to Ottawa because of bad weather. It then sat on the tarmac for hours, where it ran out of fuel, food, water, and eventually air conditioning. Some passengers resorted to calling 911. The airline says the compensation is a gesture of goodwill, that it's because of the ventilation system failure, not because of the delays due to weather. The Canadian Transportation Agency is conducting an inquiry into how Air Transat handled the incident. Coming up on The National, the danger of an unpredictable U.S. president.
And really, global peace is predicated on predictability.
We face hard truths about what can go wrong. Plus, what's it like to go through a terror attack? Tourists in Israel pay to find out. North Atlantic right whales are dying at a rate never seen before on Canada's east coast. Now the government is stepping in, trying to prevent more deaths. Ottawa is ordering ships to slow down and threatening big fines to those who don't comply. But that solution isn't working for everybody. Tom Murphy has more.
Ottawa's message to ships in the Gulf of St. Lawrence: slow down. It's now the law.
These are reasonable measures to accomplish something that's extremely important.
It's also an attempt to deal with an extraordinary situation. There's been an explosion in the number of North Atlantic right whales in the Gulf this year, up to an estimated 100 now, 5 times the normal number, right in the middle of a major shipping route. And ship collisions are at least suspected in some of the unprecedented 10 deaths of right whales since June.
This is something most unusual.
Hence today's now mandatory speed limit of 10 knots, or about 18 kilometers per hour, for ships 20 meters or longer. In this zone, in the Western Gulf, from the Quebec North Shore to just north of PEI, the area where so many of the whales have congregated to feed. Speeders could be fined up to $25,000.
The zone where the speed restriction applies could move depending on what the right whale does in terms of where it is presumably searching for its food.
The problem with all of this, says the shipping industry, is that time is money, and the delay for ships, in some cases up to 8 hours, will cost.
When you add time on marine transportation, we're looking at less efficiency, so potentially more costs, and issue of competitiveness.
Others say there's pressure on shippers to comply.
I think they've demonstrated many times that they're not interested in that type of reputation. Coming into port with a whale slung over your bow is always a bad thing as well.
Also in the works, more potential changes to the fisheries in the area to prevent the entanglement of whales. The snow crab fishery has already been closed in some areas. More closures could follow.
Whatever steps are necessary to ensure that the maximum protection is offered to these endangered marine mammals.
All of this as the research into a most unusual season of whale migration continues. Tom Murphy, CBC News, Halifax.
Canada has found success hard to come by at the World Track and Field Championships. The team is heading into the final weekend of competition without a single medal. Russian athletes, on the other hand, have made the podium 3 times. And that's reigniting the debate about doping in sports and whether level playing fields can really exist. Thomas Dagla explains.
At an international track meet, it's a strange sight. An athlete competing without her national colors, or any affiliation for that matter. But for Russians at the World Championships, it's their only way in.
I want to celebrate also with the girls, you know, when you get a medal. I want to run with the Russian flag, of course.
19 Russians, including long jumper Daria Klishina, are competing as so-called neutral athletes. Russia's ban from international track meets officially remains in effect as punishment for state-sponsored doping.
The other solutions take longer. And long term, we've got to somehow get rid of this problem.
It all should have been banned. If you're going to ban a country, you should ban them all, to be fair.
Just the idea of stateless athletes shows how track and field still struggles to deal with the stain of doping.
Will athletes have the confidence that the Russian athletes they may be lining up against on the start line there have been subject to the same doping controls?
Becky Scott's among those in the new Netflix documentary Icarus, drawing back the curtain on Russia's world of doping in sports. The filmmaker saw it firsthand.
And there's still a discussion as to whether or not they get to go to the next Winter Olympic Games? Are you kidding me?
It's the American leading the Jamaican at the moment.
And it's not just the Russians drawing anger. The target of all those boos, Justin Gatlin, the sprinter with 2 previous doping suspensions who beat Usain Bolt for the 100-meter gold medal.
Justin Gatlin.
An awkward ceremony for the man who said he'd clean up the sport.
There's a disproportionate amount of reputational damage that is done to the great sport of athletics by a relatively few number of athletes.
Anti-doping officials say 1,350 blood and urine tests are being carried out here at the World Championships. So far, they say 2 Ukrainian athletes failed tests before competition even got underway. Thomas Dagler, CBC News, London.
Straight ahead on The National, Israel's version of a thrill ride. You'll get to see what it's like to be caught in a terror attack.
I am sure you agree that we should talk frankly to each other. Frankness, in good spirit, is a measure of friendship.
The issues and irritants that inevitably affect all neighbors are small indeed in comparison with the issues that we face together.
Our friendship is deep and our understanding is great, but we have many problems, of course.
But a day which also saw what looked like the beginning of a fundamental friendship between Mr. Trudeau and President Nixon.
This is a new era of consultation and, we hope, cooperation.
Some American officials seemed appalled as Canadian security allowed demonstrators within yards of the first meeting between Prime Minister Trudeau and the President.
Canadians expect much of Americans, but more important, Canadians have faith in the Americans.
The Prime Minister was here to tell President Reagan what he was telling Canadian voters for the past few months, that he wants to restore not just good relations, but what he calls super relations between Canada and the U.S.
From President Clinton, there was no limit to the praise and the admiration he expressed for Prime Minister Chrétien.
Under your wise leadership, Mr. Prime Minister, relations between the United States and Canada have never been closer or more constructive.
He's a good guy, and I enjoyed to be with him.
4 years, 3 weeks, and 2 days since first being elected U.S. president, and George Bush said hello to Canada.
I frankly felt like the reception we received on the way in from the airport was very warm and hospitable, and I want to thank the Canadian people who came out to wave with all 5 fingers for
Obama! Obama! The purpose of the trip was that Stephen Harper and Barack Obama have some time to get to know each other and discuss whether they shared an agenda and some objectives.
I came to Canada on my first trip as president to underscore the closeness and importance of the relationship between our 2 nations. We see ourselves in each other. We're guided by the same values.
And like all great, enduring friendships, at our best, we bring out the best in one another.
Kenya's president has won a second term in office despite allegations of widespread voter fraud.
And I extend a hand of friendship, I extend a hand of cooperation, I extend a hand of partnership
Uhuru Kenyatta made an immediate call for unity after officials declared he had won 54% of the vote in Tuesday's election. But the opposition has rejected the results as a charade. Fires have been lit in protest in several cities. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says Canada is safe from a growing international tainted egg scandal. It's now spread to 16 European countries and Hong Kong. Millions of eggs have been destroyed or pulled from store shelves in recent weeks. It's feared they may be contaminated with an insecticide used on chickens, one that can cause liver, kidney, and thyroid damage in humans. So far, there are no reports of anyone falling ill from eating eggs in Europe or elsewhere. Tourism in Israel and the West Bank is adapting to the modern era. As well as its many historical and religious sites, the region is now luring visitors with a new and controversial attraction: boot camps with a twist of terror. Our Middle East correspondent Derek Stoffel went for a look.
Okay, communication is going to be a big part of this training.
An attack breaks out in a busy market. This is a simulation, a mock attack at a counter-terrorism boot camp for tourists in the occupied West Bank.
Everything is a live weapon, live ammunition. There's no joke.
Nearly 30 people, most of them visiting from the United States, have paid up to $150 each for this 2-hour demonstration, where reserve soldiers in Israel's army show them how to respond to a terrorist attack.
This, the first time in their life, simulates them to show them that an attack like that, at least in Israel, people's lives can be saved.
The group is shown how an attack dog can thwart an assault. The message here: be prepared for anything.
I want you to be aware to anything, anywhere, anytime. To understand.
The Lowy family came from Long Island, New York.
Maybe we'll be a little bit more alert and more sensitive when, if God forbid, a terrorist attack would happen. And if you understand what the responders are doing, you know how to get out of the way and how to work with them.
This is a popular tourist experience with up to 22,000 people coming every year. But some of the neighbors here aren't thrilled with this boot camp. The mayor of a nearby Palestinian town says the mock scenarios have a much darker message. This is not about protection, he says, but rather about humiliating Palestinians.
What I'm doing over here is 100% professional. It has nothing to do with the Israeli-Palestinian fight. I'm not even saying the word Palestinian. I'm not saying terror is Palestinian.
There are other controversial boot camps in the region, including this summer camp for Palestinian kids who dress up as Gaza militants fighting mock Israeli police.
If you film the place while it's happening.
Those who run the camp for these tourists make no apologies. They say in a world where terrorist attacks do happen, there's nothing wrong with showing people how to be prepared. Derek Stoffel, CBC News, Gush Etzion in the West Bank.
Police in Denmark have launched a bizarre murder investigation involving a submarine. Inventor Peter Madsen has been arrested on suspicion of killing a Swedish journalist who took a ride with him in his homemade sub. The vessel sank in a bay off Copenhagen. Madsen was rescued, but despite an extensive search, there's been no sign of the female reporter. Madsen says that's because he dropped her off on an island. Police divers are examining the sunken sub. Facing one of the world's best tennis players is a daunting task, but a relatively unknown Canadian was up for the challenge last night. Denis Shapovalov knocked off Rafael Nadal at the Rogers Cup in Montreal. And when he returned to the court tonight, all eyes were on the 18-year-old as he carried the torch for Canadian tennis. Stephanie Skenderis has the absolute latest.
If you don't know his name, now might be the time to learn. 18-year-old Denis Shapovalov is now the youngest player to advance to the semifinal of the Rogers Cup. But history has already been made. Yesterday's major upset over Rafael Nadal first got tennis fans talking. Nadal is not just the second-ranked player in the world, but a personal idol for Shapovalov.
It's what I dreamed of all my life growing up, playing guys like Rafa, Roger, Andy.
Those who know Shapovalov say it was only a matter of time.
I always thought he had a lot of potential, but to be where he's at right now at this age, it's kind of unreal.
Adriano Foravia coached Shapovalov for nearly 5 years at his mother's tennis club north of Toronto. During that time, Shapovalov dominated his age group, winning last year's Wimbledon Juniors. Foravia says Shapovalov represents a new wave of Canadian tennis players, inspired by the successes of Milos Raonic and Vasek Pospisil.
All the younger guys are starting to believe that, hey, if they can do it, I can do it kind of thing. And I think it's kind of contagious. And now these kids are doing it, and the next young level of juniors are doing it as well. So I think it's just kind of everybody's jumping on the train now, the belief train.
Some of that belief and maybe some pressure comes from the legends looking on.
The great athletes want to be at center stage. They want to play under and be under that microscope. I think he has ice in his veins. I think he's one of those guys who's going to love the pressure and take on that responsibility.
That coolness under pressure is becoming Shapovalov's hallmark. He's building a reputation for being confident, unafraid to take risks.
He's got his identity, he's got his game style. I mean, he's got the strokes to hurt, and he's got the game, that's taking shape. But he's got a lot of weapons, and I think he's always going to be a guy that takes it to the other guys.
For now, his focus will be on the Rogers Cup, where he stands a chance to possibly face another idol, Roger Federer. Stephanie Skandaris, CBC News, Toronto.
Up next, as the U.S. and North Korea play chicken, what's really at stake?
That's investing a lot of power, the power really to end the world in one person.
Has Donald Trump done the world a favor by showing how alarming that policy could be? Plus, a former American dreamland becomes ground zero in the opioid crisis. Let's check the day's business numbers. The TSX lost 40 points. The dollar increased slightly. In New York, the Dow gained 14 points, and the price of oil moved up 23 cents a barrel.
You have to go for a dope test.
A track star nowadays has to be followed around by a doping official almost any time she wins a major event. What the testers are mainly looking for here is the subject of an international ban. Anabolic steroids, a derivative of the male sex hormone, which is supposed to build muscle.
The athletes say all this doping control business is a bit of a waste of time and money, which is something the Canadian team does not have in abundance.
Good evening. The nation is in shock tonight over the downfall of a Canadian hero. Ben Johnson, who made the country so proud on Friday, was, just hours ago, thrown out of the Olympics for taking drugs, steroids.
Oh, that's devastating.
It makes me wonder what's happening to Canadian athletics.
It's the biggest disappointment anybody could ever imagine.
In this Montreal lab, scientists test the blood and urine of athletes for signs of drug use, signs of cheating. There's no shortage of work and much more to come now that Montreal has been named headquarters of the World Anti-Doping Agency.
There will be more pressure on Canadian athletes, but not only Canadian athletes, all athletes around the world.
Europe's fastest sprinter has become the latest athlete to test positive for a new designer steroid called THG. The drug is at the heart of a widening doping scandal in the U.S.
Fortunes have fallen for American sprinter Marion Jones.
American cyclist Floyd Landis has admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs.
Lance Armstrong has finally coughed up what was pretty much an open secret.
Do you feel disgraced? Of course.
If you're the second best athlete in the world, you might do anything to be number one. Whether there's testing or whether there isn't testing.
This is Mordecai Richler, a Canadian writer now living in England. And these are some of the things he writes.
Young people are leaving Canada, one, because they feel there is no opportunity for them at home, and two, because they're bored.
It's a small country, and if you're an English-speaking Canadian, there's certainly no capital. The cultural capitals are either New York or London.
Another reason I write is, and it's
this continuing attempt to evolve a standard or a position or a moral posture. And I work it out in my books, and I'm still working it out.
My loyalties, or what I think of as Canada, is really Montreal, the Laurentians, the region surrounding the city. I tend to feel something of a stranger in other parts of Canada. I have no overwhelming sense of country.
I'm not the most pretentious of writers. I write for my own pleasure and for my friends, and I hope to find as wide an audience as possible. I try to be an honest witness to my times.
You have been known to make rather rude statements in public, probably slightly under the influence of...
No, that's not fair. I mean, what I mean is, I wasn't necessarily under the influence of it.
You mean you can be rude without drinking, is that?
If called upon.
Multiculturalism was a very well-intended notion, like most Canadian notions, but not very bright like most Canadian notions.
I'm trying to tell the truth. I don't think that it's something that has to be in season like hockey or hay fever. I think you should be able to tell the truth at any time. And if it makes people uncomfortable, I can't help it. Well, I think I'm very fortunate in that most men work at jobs they dislike intensely because they have to support a family, and most women do. So anyone who's being paid to do work he enjoys is very privileged in this world, and I don't have to ingratiate myself with anybody or taint my work in order to make it appealing. So I'm very lucky.
Many of my friends buried their children.
You can almost see the dark clouds sometimes.
Just like a bomb had went off.
A public health threat, an epidemic that seems unstoppable. The opioid crisis has claimed the lives of thousands, including 3 this morning in the Toronto area. Fentanyl is suspected in those deaths. But as bad as it is here, what's happening in the American heartland is far worse. Yesterday, Donald Trump declared the opioid epidemic a national emergency in the United States. Last year, in Ohio alone, twice as many people died from opioid overdoses than in all of Canada. Earlier this season, Vicodopia went to the epicenter of the crisis where it all began, a small city once considered the perfect place to raise a family.
Summer days in the Midwest, where the life of the community revolved around outdoor pools. For 6 generations, nowhere was that truer than in Portsmouth, Ohio, where one pool so embodied the town's glory days that it still lives on Facebook. It wasn't just swimming, there were games, dances, food, and first kisses. It was called Dreamland. This is all that remains of Dreamland today. A parking lot in a strip mall. Its demise foreshadowed a deeper crisis in the city, one of drug abuse beyond anything we've seen in Canada.
Many of my friends buried their children.
You can almost see the dark clouds sometimes.
Just like a bomb had went off.
What the hell you know about that 740? If you ain't lived here, work.
Some call this the unofficial anthem of Portsmouth.
See all this hell that we know. Trauma, depression, drugs, problem after problem. Everybody I know's got.
Clint Askew and his crew rhyme about the hard times in the 740, the area code here, and its infamy as opioid ground zero, where there are thousands of users in a city of just 20,000. The song's blunt lyrics about the wreckage left by addiction struck a chord with people and was a hit on YouTube.
Don't even play because it feels like these days don't change. My hands so stained in sin.
Askew noticed an emerging problem as a teenager when pot was starting to lose its appeal.
And it started to become like pills. Like all of a sudden pills, people were talking about pills or Loracets or Percocets or something like that. And I was just like, what the heck?
Painkiller medication flooded Portsmouth after unscrupulous doctors set up shop beginning in the 90s, selling prescriptions, and everyone around Askew was drowning in pills.
I noticed my mom was doing it all the time. I didn't really notice that at first, but then, after the years went on, when I was able to realize what was going on, I seen it.
This building behind me was one of Portsmouth's infamous pain clinics, where patients would pay doctors for prescriptions of OxyContin. These were essentially pill mills, and users came from nearby Kentucky and West Virginia, making Portsmouth the epicenter of an epidemic, which continues today. Now it's heroin, usually laced with fentanyl.
The other day, a little girl by Hilltop, she went home. Her mom and dad are in prison. She goes home to her grandparents, overdosed, and they die. So, it's around us every day, every day.
Portsmouth celebrates its better days, a river town on the edge of Appalachia that grew into an important shipping and manufacturing stop in the Midwest. But the post-war economy favored bigger cities. Businesses started to close. By the 1990s, half the population was gone. Homes and businesses sit empty, and a quarter of those left behind live below the poverty line.
You have a run, have a motorcycle crash in the intersection by Long John Silver's 11.
Chris Lowry grew up in Portsmouth.
When I was in high school, I helped build that park. And when my kids were young, I used to bring them there all the time, and they would play, but I don't bring them there anymore because there's needles.
Lowry has flown helicopters for the U.S. Army in Iraq. But now, as the assistant fire chief in his hometown, he fights a different type of battle.
We are down here constantly on overdoses, and we find them laying in the streets or laying in the alley, or I can't tell you how many times we've picked them up laying in this field up here.
Lowry started losing friends when the opioid crisis began. Today, most of the emergency calls aren't fires, but overdoses. In Ohio, more than 4,000 people died last year from unintentional drug overdoses. That's up by a third from the year before. And the emergency antidote isn't working like it used to.
And at first, the heroin was, we would arrive on scene, and the Narcan that we use, a dose would bring them out pretty easily. But now we're seeing that this stuff is laced with other fentanyl, other things, and it's getting harder and harder to bring them out.
If they do come out, this tranquil estate could offer a way out. It's across the river and was built from the proceeds of a notorious doctor who sold OxyContin prescriptions in Portsmouth. Now it offers treatment to deal with his legacy. One of the few growth industries in this region.
You're so much more. You're recovering fathers, you're recovering mothers, you're recovering daughters, you're recovering sons, you're recovering employees.
Shame and stigma are often the added side effects of opioid abuse, especially in small communities in the Midwest. The staff here say it weighs heavily on the men and women in counseling. More than 30 people live in this facility, and it's usually full. There's constant demand for treatment.
Death. Biggest fear is death. Anybody else relate to that? Yeah. Why?
Brandon Ferguson works behind the scenes at the treatment center. It's a job that came after the hardest work he's done, getting through an addiction to OxyContin.
It's similar to having the flu, but maybe a little bit worse because of the mental part you deal with. But it's one of those things I wouldn't wish on anyone.
The crackdown on prescription OxyContin in Portsmouth also swept up many users. The only infrastructure in place to deal with a large addicted population was jail or harder drugs. Ferguson is one of the few to break out of the cycle.
I think if they would have grabbed it and looked at it in a treatment light, instead of just eliminating it like it did to open the door for heroin, I think they could have got a better grasp, but that's, who knows.
In a town with so much poverty, addiction finds company. So food, clothes, and counseling are always welcome. This church group partners with health officials to distribute naloxone and get people into treatment, or at least try.
Get a garbage bag over there and get what you need.
Renee Duncan abused drugs and alcohol at a young age. Now she's founded a ministry to pull others out of it.
I lived right over there, 21, 3 babies, locked into addiction, locked into a mess. God brought me out of it.
Duncan isn't successful this time. Relapses into addiction are more common around here. Programs are based on abstinence alone. Methadone-based treatments are more tightly restricted than in Canada and are usually only available in major cities, but not in this part of America.
I'm looking you in the eye, and guess what? I don't want to see you die.
For those who won't come out of the shadows, Renee Duncan goes to them. This overpass shelters homeless people who are struggling with substance abuse. Duncan introduces them to a public health nurse.
Love your family.
Lisa Roberts has handed out thousands of doses of naloxone in the Portsmouth area. Often, it's other users who end up preventing overdose. So it's critical to know how to use it.
So I'm overdosing right now. I'm laying down. Not breathing. No.
Roberts has worked with substance abusers for about 7 years, but her experiences go farther back and are personal.
And my daughter became addicted, and I noticed all of my friends were having these issues with their teenagers too, or young people, and I started seeing my friends lose their kids.
Losing kids, tearing apart families. There's now a surge in demand for foster care in Portsmouth and Ohio in general. 10% of babies in the county are born with an opioid dependency. Roberts says harm reduction strategies pioneered in Canada, such as supervised injections and drug maintenance programs, could help reduce the casualties in Ohio.
Other countries have things like methadone where, people can easily access methadone at a pharmacy or, a close location. That makes perfect sense that we should be pursuing those sorts of things. But the resistance in the United States and in certain parts of it, including here, is astronomical. We are in the middle of an epidemic. In fact, it's called the worst public health epidemic in our history. Think about that.
Roberts takes her experiences fighting opioids all over the Midwest. Today, she's in Athens, in a neighboring county. Portsmouth took a lot of heat after launching Ohio's first program that put naloxone in the hands of users. It's now a model others are following, but that's not enough. Overdoses in Portsmouth are outpacing last year's already staggering numbers.
My other fears, of course, is that this is just going to be our new normal, which is what a lot of people do believe, that we're just going to be dealing with this forever and ever, and that we will continue to just sort of spiral into kind of like Walking Dead kind of thing.
God bless the dead, hope for the best. We all will confess when we all lay to rest.
Clint Askew's hip-hop crew is smaller than it used to be, in spite of their success. After the popularity of 740, it turned ugly. Then some turned to drugs.
I expected a lot from him, you know what I mean? Like, I wanted us to be better and be something everybody else could look up to. You know what I mean? And I still want to be that.
Askew has stepped up, stepping in to raise other people's children. Now he has a child of his own.
Like, making this music is a way for me to have something for my daughter when she grows up. You know what I mean? No matter if I never make it or if I sit here and just nothing ever happens, she will always have these memories of me.
740.
As the U.S. and Canada struggle to tame a mutual epidemic spreading beyond major cities, Portsmouth shows just how hard the fight can get in smaller communities, unequipped for the battles ahead. Vic Adopia, CBC News, Portsmouth, Ohio.
Coming up on The National, some chilling insights from a former official of the U.S. nuclear defense system. He did not want Donald Trump to get control of the arsenal.
Muhammad Ali commanded a respectful silence and then applause as he entered the ring. The daily workouts were pure show business. First, an exhibition of speed and condition. And then, on the last day of training, he put on a surprise performance.
And who's the champ of Canada, too? Who's the heavyweight champ of Canada? Nadal. How many Americans in here? All right. What other countries do we have in here? England? How many from England? Who?
Israel.
Israel? Yeah. Am I the champ in Israel? I'm not the champ in Israel? All right. So name but one of you in here, you better be good. I don't want no smart stuff now. Can anybody just take my tail out of the ring? Would you ever settle for that? No, right? No. All right, that's all. You can go now. All of you who bought pictures, I'm going to put my name on it for you. Take time and autograph all your pictures. And because this will be worth about $10,000 in another 2 years. The people here in Canada, I've never been treated so nice in my life. I haven't had no people making wisecracks. Everybody's friendly. The children, the waitresses, the hotel managers, the policemen, everybody's as nice as they can be. And it's a lot different from where I come from.
I'm Lloyd Robertson at Control Central in Winnipeg, introducing our CBC television coverage of the 1967 Pan American Games. And we are having another one of the intermittent showers that have been on and off all afternoon here in Winnipeg. However, the spunky Duke of Edinburgh is nonetheless traveling in an open car and is now halfway around the track. He is going to be officially opening these games. And those well-formed lines are obviously falling apart all over the place. A well-organized parade up to this point, but now it's been impossible to keep these lines in order during the rain. Nonetheless, some of them are stalwartly carrying on. The delegation from the Netherlands Antilles.
His Royal Highness looking up skyward a little bit, and he gets very little encouragement from there because there's an immense black cloud parked right over the top of Winnipeg's stadium. And funnily enough, Lloyd, I don't know, maybe this augurs well, but the rain stopped as Canada came by.
Right, the rain is stopping, and the weather has contributed to an air of conviviality.
A little bit of sun is beginning to sneak through.
I have the great pleasure and honor to declare the 5th Pan American Games open.
I get a kick out of these dopey people, these stupid, foolish people, when they talk about, can we trust Donald Trump with nuclear? Can we trust him?
When Donald Trump spoke those words, he was not yet president, so the question was largely academic. Could he be trusted with the nuclear codes? Today, as he trades threats with North Korea, the answer is of global importance. So we're taking another look at this in-depth exploration of U.S. nuclear policy. Decades after the Cold War, an unpredictable U.S. leader controls an arsenal that's always on hair-trigger nuclear alert.
They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen.
Official Washington, the Pentagon, security experts are nervous about Trump, at least the ones that I talk to. The thing he's been consistent on is that he likes to be unpredictable.
Is that unpredictability what causes people anxiety?
Yes, I think so. I think we have to be unpredictable.
And really, kind of global peace is predicated on predictability.
I don't know if I want it, maybe I do, maybe I don't.
If you introduce unpredictability into the equation, then you open up the opportunity for misunderstanding and then miscalculation and then conflict. which could be conventional and escalate into nuclear.
I was one of 10 former nuclear launch officers who signed a letter before the election stating to the effect that we did not think Trump was qualified to be in charge of the nuclear arsenal.
It's been a U.S. policy, though, for decades to prevent Japan from getting nuclear
that might be
weapons.
a policy, but
South
maybe,
Korea as well.
can I be honest with you? Maybe it's going to have to be time to change.
After the original letter was published, that list had grown to about 30. Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, unaffiliated.
Wouldn't you rather, in a certain sense, have Japan have nuclear weapons when North Korea has nuclear weapons?
They said, I want Japan to nuke. I want Japan to get nuclear weapons. Give me a break.
There's always been discussion of accidents or what if somebody tried to game the system, or even of rogue nuclear actors in other countries. But I don't think there's been a lot of thought within the U.S. about, well, what if that is us? The main way we thought about it at the time was if we did our job, we wouldn't have to do our job.
Hands on keys.
If the adversary knew that we were ready to execute the mission at a moment's notice
and release,
no one in their right mind would attack the United States with nuclear weapons.
The factor that initially compelled me into this topic was a sense of guilt at how much I didn't know about it.
They are the focus of evil in the modern world.
I was born into a world that was obsessed with nuclear weapons, but I came of age in a world that had largely forgotten about them. The Cold War recedes from memory, the Soviet Union recedes from memory, and nuclear weapons recede with them, when really that should not have been the case.
The danger of a nuclear catastrophe today, in my judgment, is greater than it was during the Cold War.
A former Defense Secretary, William Perry, who was Defense Secretary under Bill Clinton, has said that we are closer to nuclear conflict now, which is saying something.
We're entering into what I would consider definitely a more complex threat environment globally.
3, 2, 1, now.
The tension between India and Pakistan over an area like Kashmir.
And the potential for border clashes to potentially escalate. Or in the case of North Korea, just the perception that they're just irrational and, the very definition of a rogue actor.
They're the only country in the 21st century to have tested nuclear weapons. Also concerning is that they're developing a missile that could carry this nuclear warhead to somewhere like the United States.
3, 2,
The tension between Russia and the US, which has ratcheted up over the past 8 years. You have troops amassing along the border with Russia, in the Baltic states. You have Vladimir Putin rattling the nuclear saber.
There was a report recently that Russia had updated its national security strategy and had changed the wording with regard to nuclear war from unthinkable to unlikely.
The International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War put out a study a few years ago saying that if India and Pakistan were to exchange 50 nuclear warheads each, 2 billion, that's billion with a B as in boy, people would be at risk of dying around the world. The amount of soot and debris kicked into the atmosphere from the detonation of 100 nuclear weapons would cause a deleterious effect on global agriculture and put 2 billion people at risk. That's 100 nuclear detonations. There are somewhere between 14 and 15,000 on the planet right now.
Let's not kid each other. We've had quite a few accidents. Over the past 10 years, we have had accidents in California, in Arkansas, quite a few states, at least a dozen in the United States.
How can you sleep at night?
The United States has had nuclear weapons for 71 years now, and that history has been plagued by a litany of accidents.
You know, in the 1950s and 60s, when we had bombers flying around with nuclear weapons on board, there were several instances of those where they crashed.
In 1961, a B-52 bomber broke up over North Carolina and dropped thermonuclear warheads down to the ground that, if they had gone off, would have exploded with 200 times the force of the Hiroshima bomb. There have been false alerts.
In 1979, President Carter's national security advisor got a call at 3 o'clock in the morning from NORAD saying, effectively, we are under nuclear attack.
The mistaken loading and inaction of a training scenario that was misinterpreted as a real-world scenario.
He was minutes away from waking up the president when he got another call saying, sorry, false alarm. There was an incident in 1983.
Sunlight reflecting off clouds.
Another incident in the mid-1990s.
The launch of a research rocket. All these kind of near misses, these moments when we've gotten to the brink of actually launching a retaliation, both the US and Russia. And one can only think that we're kind of gambling with that luck at this point. What happened over the course of the Cold War is the decision-making authority centralized with the president. Because there would be such little time.
The flight time for a nuclear ballistic missile is less than an hour, probably closer to half an hour, depending upon where it's coming from. You have to detect the attack, characterize it. The president then has to think about what he's going to do, order a potential response, and then that message has to flow down to the people like us at the end of the chain, who then have to execute it. Once you add all that up, there's not a lot of time in there to be thinking through the decision process.
And so the president accumulated this power to kind of be the sole decision maker to launch a nuclear weapon, and that is an ethos that persists today. And that's investing a lot of power, the power really to end the world in one person.
I get a kick out of these dopey people, these stupid, foolish people. When they talk about, can we trust Donald Trump with nuclear? Can we trust him?
Just ahead on The National, Canada moves to protect Arctic waters in a really big way.
next 4 months are the most important of your lives.
Hey guys, Johnny Harris here. Still Standing Season 3 is up and off to a roaring start, but we still have a lot of great stories from little towns across the country. So tune in, will you? Tuesday nights, 8 o'clock on CBC.
An Inuit group and the federal government are working together to protect a giant chunk of Arctic water in Lancaster Sound, north of Baffin Island. According to the Globe and Mail, the conservation area will span over 131,000 square kilometers, by far the largest protected area in the country. And it would double the amount of water protected by Canada. Inuit groups will still have access to whales, seals, and other fish and animals for hunting, but oil drilling, seismic testing, and mineral extraction will be off limits. Still in the Arctic, the wrecks from the doomed Franklin expedition are getting re-examined. Ottawa says it will launch new explorations of HMS Erebus and HMS Terror. The goal is to photograph more of the wrecks and conduct research into their conservation. The ships were discovered in 2014 and 2016 after having been missing for over 150 years. 10 days from now, a rare total solar eclipse will cross North America. Next week on The National, our science correspondent Bob McDonald will answer your questions. In this excerpt, he tells Heather Hiscox why it's so special.
I am an avid eclipse chaser. I've been chasing them since the 1970s.
I put the question to my nieces, 11-year-old Asha, 9-year-old Jessica, who were not really quite understanding why there's such a hoopla over this. So let's begin there. Why is this so rare?
Well, actually, it's not rare, Heather. It actually happens all the time. But for any one spot on the Earth, it is rare. But eclipses are common. So let's just get back to basics, as you said. So we have our planet Earth, which spins on its axis once a day, and it goes around the sun. So I'm going to make you the sun.
Okay. The center of your universe?
You're very bright, yes. Okay, so the Earth would be going around your head like this, and we're doing this. The moon, and by the way, this isn't big enough. The moon's bigger than this, so it's just easy for me. So the moon goes around the Earth once a month. Now, if the moon went around the Earth, around the equator like this, we would have an eclipse every month, because an eclipse is just when the sun, the moon, and the Earth all line up. And all the eclipse is the shadow of the moon cast on the Earth. That's all it is. Just a shadow going by. Big deal. What's the big deal, right? Just a shadow. But it doesn't happen every month because, for one thing, the Earth is tipped a bit on its axis like this, and the moon does not go around the middle. It's on an angle. Its orbit goes up and down like this. So usually its shadow is either above us or below us, so it misses us. So it's only during certain times of the year when the moon passes right in front between the two that you get this. So they do happen all the time, but it depends what part of the Earth is facing the sun that day. It's always spinning. So while they do happen every couple of years, the shadow might pass over an ocean, which it usually does, or another country. This time, it happens to be passing right over North America, but they do happen all the time, but it's just for any one spot on the Earth. It is kind of rare. But that's all it is, the shadow of the moon passing over the Earth.
All right.
And now we know. That's The National for this Friday night. For news at any hour, any time, you can go to cbcnews.ca. I'm Carol McNeil. Good night.